Hey there, you incredible viewer, you. Picture this, a quaint little bookstore tucked away in a cozy corner of a small American town, its shelves brimming with stories waiting to be discovered, and a mysterious note slipped between the pages of a well-worn novel, addressed to the shop's owner. A note that hints at a secret admirer who's been watching from afar. Sounds like the start of a swoon-worthy romance, right? But here's the kicker. What if that admirer isn't just any hopeless romantic but the richest man in town, a figure cloaked in wealth and enigma? In the first 30 seconds of this video, I'm hooking you with a question that's going to linger in your mind. Who is this shadowy billionaire leaving love notes, and why is he so drawn to a humble bookstore owner who's barely keeping her shop afloat? Stick with me, because by the end of this introduction, you're going to be itching to uncover the truth, and I promise you, the answer is worth the wait. This is a story about love, secrets, and the kind of plot twist that'll make your jaw drop, and I'm thrilled to share it with you, my curious friend, because I know you're here for a tale that'll tug at your heartstrings and keep you guessing. Let's dive into this mystery together, and I'll make sure you're glued to your screen until the very last second. You're probably sitting there, maybe sipping your coffee or scrolling through YouTube, wondering why this story feels like it's speaking directly to you. Well, it is. I see you, the dreamer who loves a good romance, the detective in you who craves a puzzle to solve, and the part of you that's just a little bit nosy about what goes on behind closed doors in a sleepy town. This video is for you, and I'm going to make you feel like you're right there in that bookstore, flipping through the pages of this unfolding drama. Imagine the smell of old books, the creak of wooden floors, and the soft jingle of a bell every time the door swings open. That's where we meet Ellie, our bookstore owner, a woman in her early 30s with a warm smile and a knack for recommending the perfect book to every customer. She's the kind of person you'd want as your best friend, relatable, a little quirky, and fiercely independent, but struggling to keep her beloved shop, the Book Nook, from going under. Times are tough, and the bills are piling up faster than the unsold paperbacks on her discount table. But here's where it gets juicy. Every few days, Ellie finds a new note tucked into a book, each one more heartfelt than the last, written in elegant handwriting that feels oddly out of place in her modest little world. These aren't your average love letters, folks. They're poetic, almost old-fashioned, and they're starting to make Ellie wonder if she's caught the eye of someone extraordinary. You're probably thinking, who's got time to write letters like that in 2025? Exactly. That's the mystery we're unraveling, and I'm betting you're already hooked, aren't you? Don't click away, because I'm about to pull you deeper into this story, and I know you want to know who's behind those notes. Let's talk about why this story matters to you. We've all had that moment where we felt seen, maybe even adored, by someone unexpected. It's thrilling, a little scary, and it makes your heart race just thinking about it. That's what Ellie's feeling right now, and I'm going to let you in on her journey, step by step, so you can feel that flutter in your chest too. This isn't just a story about a secret admirer, it's about hope, the kind that sneaks up on you when you least expect it, and the courage it takes to chase a dream, whether it's saving a bookstore or opening your heart to something new. I'm talking to you directly because I want you to feel like you're part of this world, like you're Ellie's confidant, rooting for her as she navigates this whirlwind of emotions. You're not just watching a video, you're living this story with me, and I'm going to make sure you stay until the end, because I've got a cliffhanger coming that'll leave you desperate for more. To keep you locked in, I'm going to drop a little master move here. I'm promising you that by the time this introduction wraps up, you'll have just enough clues to start piecing together who this admirer might be, but not enough to spoil the big reveal. It's like giving you the first chapter of a bestseller. You'll be begging to turn the page. So grab your popcorn, silence those notifications, and let's keep going, because this is where the atmosphere starts to thicken, and the stakes get higher. Now let's set the scene a bit more, because I want you to feel the pulse of this town and the tension brewing beneath its surface. Picture a place called Willow Creek, a charming slice of Americana with tree-lined streets, a diner where locals gossip over pie, and a town square that lights up for the annual Harvest Festival. It's the kind of place where everyone knows your name. But secrets? Oh, they fester quietly behind picket fences. Ellie's bookstore is the heart of Willow Creek, a haven for book lovers and dreamers, but it's also a symbol of her stubborn refusal to give up on her late father's legacy. Her dad started the Book Nook decades ago, and Ellie's poured her soul into keeping it alive, even as chain stores and online retailers chip away at her profits. She's tough, but she's human, and you can see the worry in her eyes when she balances the books at night. That's when those mysterious notes start to feel like a lifeline, a spark of magic in her otherwise stressful days. Each one is signed only with a single initial, J, and they're always left in the most unexpected places. Inside a copy of Pride and Prejudice, slipped into the poetry section, or even taped to the back of a dusty atlas. You're probably wondering, Ellie girl, don't you have security cameras? Trust me, she's checked, but the admirer's too clever, always striking when she's distracted or the shop's empty. This isn't just a game of cat and mouse. It's a dance, and Ellie's starting to enjoy it, even if it scares her a little. You're feeling that intrigue, right? That mix of excitement and unease? Good, because that's exactly where I want you, and I'm not letting you go until we dig deeper. Let's introduce another player in this story, but don't worry. I'm keeping the admirer's identity under wraps for now. Meet Caleb, the town's golden boy and Ellie's childhood friend, who runs the local coffee shop across the street. He's got that all-American charm, a dimpled grin, and a habit of bringing Ellie free lattes when she's buried in paperwork. Caleb's the kind of guy you'd expect to be Ellie's happily ever after, and the townsfolk sure love to whisper about when those two will finally get together. But here's the thing. Ellie's not sure she feels that spark with Caleb, and those anonymous notes are stirring up feelings she didn't know she had. Caleb's starting to notice her distraction, and you can bet he's got his own thoughts about who might be behind those letters. Is he jealous? Protective? Or does he know something Ellie doesn't? I'm dropping these hints because I want you to start theorizing, to feel that itch to connect the dots. This story isn't just about romance. It's about trust, rivalry, and the secrets we keep from the people closest to us. You're probably thinking, okay, but where's the richest man in town come in? Patience, my friend. I'm building the tension, layering the mystery, because when that reveal hits, you're going to need a moment to pick your jaw up off the floor. For now, let's just say Willow Creek has its share of wealthy folks, and one of them, a man who rarely steps out of his mansion on the hill, might be more connected to Ellie's world than she realizes. Let's talk themes for a second, because this story's got layers, and I know you're the kind of viewer who loves a tale that makes you think. At its core, this is about finding connection in unexpected places, about how love can bloom in the cracks of a hard life, like a flower pushing through concrete. It's also about the power of words. Those handwritten notes aren't just romantic. They're a reminder that a single sentence can change someone's day, or even their life. You've probably had a moment where a kind word from a stranger made you smile, right? That's the magic we're exploring here, and I'm betting it's resonating with you on a deep level. I'm also weaving in a touch of class tension. Ellie's scrappy working-class world versus the untouchable wealth of her admirer. How do you bridge that gap? Can love really conquer all when money and power are in the mix? These are the questions that'll keep you hooked, and I'm speaking to you directly because I know you're invested now. You're not just watching for the romance. You're here for the drama, the betrayal, and the moment when all the pieces fall into place. I'm promising you answers, but I'm also promising a journey that's going to make you laugh, gasp, and maybe even tear up a little. Don't you dare click away, because we're about to hit a turning point that'll make you glad you stayed. Here's where the atmosphere gets a little darker, a little more electric, because no good mystery is complete without a hint of danger. Ellie's starting to notice things beyond the notes. Small, unsettling details that make her wonder if her admirer is as sweet as his words suggest. A book she swears she left on the counter is found on a shelf she never touches. The shop's door, which she always locks, is ajar one morning, with no sign of a break-in. She's not scared, not yet, but she's cautious, and you can feel her pulse quicken as she wonders if she's being watched. You're probably thinking, Ellie, call the cops. But in a small town like Willow Creek, where everyone's in everyone's business, she's hesitant to make a fuss. Plus, part of her, a part she's not ready to admit, likes the attention, the thrill of being someone's muse. You get that, don't you? That mix of fear and fascination when something's just out of reach? That's what's pulling Ellie forward, and it's what's going to keep you watching. I'm not going to lie, this story's got twists that'll make you question everything, and I'm setting the stage so you're ready for them. The tone here is warm but tinged with suspense, like a cozy blanket with a cold breeze sneaking underneath. You're invested in Ellie, you're curious about Caleb, and you're dying to know who Jay is, but I'm holding that card close to my chest for now. Let's push the stakes even higher, because I want you on the edge of your seat. One evening as Ellie's closing up shop, she finds the boldest note yet, tucked inside a first-edition copy of Wuthering Heights. A book so rare she keeps it locked in a glass case. The note isn't just a love letter, it's a promise, written in that same elegant script. I'll save your shop, Ellie, if you'll let me save you. Save her? From what? The failing business, her loneliness, or something else entirely? Her heart's pounding, and so is yours, because this isn't just about romance anymore. It's about power, control, and a secret that's bigger than she imagined. She looks out the shop's window, half expecting to see someone lurking in the shadows, but all she sees is the quiet street and the distant glow of that mansion on the hill. That's when it hits her. The richest man in town, a recluse named Jonathan Hargrove, might be the one behind it all. But why her? Why now? And how did he get into that locked case? You're feeling that chill down your spine, aren't you? That's the cliffhanger I promised, and I'm leaving you right here, teetering on the edge, because the next part of this story is going to blow your mind. Don't you dare stop watching, because the truth about Ellie's secret admirer is closer than you think, and it's going to change everything. Right where we left off with Ellie staring out the bookstore window, her heart thumping like a drum as that cryptic note burns a hole in her pocket, let's pull you deeper into the heart of Willow Creek and the tangled web of secrets that's starting to unravel. You're probably still reeling from that cliffhanger, wondering how a locked case was opened and why a man like Jonathan Hargrove, the town's elusive billionaire, would set his sights on someone as grounded as Ellie. I'm not going to give you all the answers yet, my friend, because this story's like a good book. You've got to savor each chapter to appreciate the ending. Instead, I'm going to peel back the layers of this mystery, introduce you to new faces, and sprinkle in just enough intrigue to keep you glued to this video. Picture Ellie, standing alone in the book nook, the glow of the streetlights casting long shadows across the shelves, her mind racing with questions about that note's promise to save her. She's not just a bookstore owner. She's a woman carrying the weight of her father's dreams, a dreamer who's always believed in the magic of stories but never expected to be the heroine of one. As we dive into the background of Willow Creek and the people who orbit her life, you're going to feel the pulse of this town, the whispers of its past, and the tension that's building like a storm on the horizon. Stick with me, because this is where the plot thickens, and I'm betting you're already hooked on finding out what happens next. Let's start with Ellie's world, because understanding her is key to feeling the stakes of this story. Growing up in Willow Creek, she was the quiet kid who'd rather hide in the library than join the cheer squad. The one who'd spend hours lost in novels while her dad ran the bookstore. When he passed away 5 years ago, Ellie inherited the book nook, along with his stubborn pride and a mountain of debt. She's poured everything into keeping the shop alive, not just for herself but for the community that rallies around it. Locals who see it as a refuge, a place where stories knit people together. But the truth is, Ellie's barely holding on. The rise of ebooks and big box retailers has hit hard, and she's had to cut back on inventory, skip her own paychecks, and even consider selling the shop to developers sniffing around for prime real estate. You can feel her struggle, can't you? That knot in your stomach when you're fighting for something you love but the odds keep stacking against you? That's where those mysterious notes come in, like a lifeline tossed into choppy waters. They're not just romantic. They're a reminder that someone sees her, really sees her, in a way she hasn't felt in years. But as you're probably guessing, there's a catch. The note in the locked case wasn't just a bold move. It was a signal that her admirer knows more about her than she's comfortable with. How did they get in? What else do they know? You're itching to figure this out, and I'm right there with you, guiding you through this maze of clues while keeping the suspense dialed up. Now let's zoom out to Willow Creek itself, because this town isn't just a backdrop. It's a character in its own right, with secrets buried deeper than the roots of its ancient oak trees. Nestled in the rolling hills of the Midwest, Willow Creek is the kind of place you'd see on a postcard, with its charming main street, annual apple festival, and a gossip mill that never stops churning. But beneath the surface, there's tension brewing, especially when it comes to money and power. Enter Jonathan Hargrove, the richest man in town, a name that's whispered more than spoken. He's in his late 40s, a tech mogul who made his fortune in Silicon Valley before retreating to Willow Creek a decade ago, buying up the old mansion on the hill and rarely showing his face. The locals have spun all kinds of stories about him. Some say he's a recluse haunted by a tragic past, others think he's just a snob who thinks he's above small-town life. But one thing's clear. His wealth casts a long shadow. His company, Hargrove Enterprises, owns half the commercial property in town, and rumors are swirling that he's got his eye on the block where the book nook sits. Could that be why he's targeting Ellie? Is this romance? Or is it a calculated move to soften her up before he swoops in with a buyout offer? You're probably thinking, Ellie, don't fall for it. But the notes are so personal, so intimate, that they don't feel like a businessman's ploy. That's the mystery that's got you hooked, and I'm not going to let you off the line just yet. Let's introduce a new perspective to shake things up, because this story isn't just about Ellie's side of things. Meet Lila, the town's librarian and Ellie's closest friend, who's got a sharp wit and a knack for sniffing out trouble. Lila's in her late 20s, with a love for true crime podcasts and a habit of overanalyzing everything. She's been Ellie's rock through the bookstore struggles, but she's also the first to raise a red flag about the notes. To Lila, this secret admirer business smells like a scam, or worse, a stalker. She's been digging into Willow Creek's history, pulling old newspaper clippings about Hargrove's arrival in town, and she stumbled across something odd. A decade ago, when Hargrove first moved in, there was a scandal involving a local woman who worked at his mansion and then vanished without a trace. The official story was that she left for a job in Chicago, but Lila's not buying it. She's starting to wonder if Hargrove's got a pattern, a way of getting close to women in town before something happens. You're feeling that chill, aren't you? The idea that Ellie's admirer might not be a romantic hero but someone with a darker agenda? Lila's perspective adds a new layer of suspense, and her snooping is about to stir up trouble, because the more she digs, the more she's noticed by people who'd rather keep Willow Creek's secrets buried. I'm dropping these hints to keep you guessing, to make you feel like you're part of this investigation, because I know you're dying to know what Lila's going to uncover next. To deepen the plot, let's weave in a subplot that's going to tug at your heart and add another thread to this mystery. Enter Tommy, a shy teenager who's been hanging around the book nook more than usual. He's 16, awkward, and obsessed with graphic novels, but there's something about him that catches Ellie's eye. He's always watching, always lingering, like he's got something to say but can't quite spit it out. Tommy's got his own struggles. His mom's a single parent working double shifts at the diner, and he's been getting into trouble at school, acting out in ways that don't match his quiet nature. Ellie's taken him under her wing, letting him help out at the shop, partly because she sees a bit of her younger self in him, and partly because she's worried he's headed down a bad path. But here's where it gets interesting. Tommy's been noticing things too. He swears he saw a man in a dark coat slipping out of the bookstore one evening, right after a new note appeared. He didn't get a good look, but the way he describes the figure, tall, deliberate, moving like he owned the place, sounds an awful lot like the rumors about Hargrove. Is Tommy onto something, or is he just a kid with an overactive imagination? You're probably thinking, Ellie, listen to Tommy. But she's so caught up in the notes and her own worries that she's not connecting the dots yet. This subplot adds a layer of vulnerability to the story, because Tommy's not just a side character. He's a reminder of what's at stake if Ellie's admirer isn't who he seems. You're rooting for him, aren't you? I knew you would be, because this story's got that human touch that pulls you in. Let's circle back to Caleb, because his role in this drama is starting to take shape, and I want you to feel the complexity of his character. He's not just the charming coffee shop guy pining for Ellie. He's got his own demons, and they're starting to surface as the notes pile up. Caleb's family has deep roots in Willow Creek. His dad was mayor back in the day, and there's a sense of pride that comes with the name. But Caleb's also carrying a chip on his shoulder, because Hargrove's real estate moves have squeezed small businesses like his coffee shop, and he's had to fight tooth and nail to stay afloat. When he hears about the notes, his first instinct is to protect Ellie, but there's something else in his eyes. Jealousy, maybe, or fear that he's losing her to someone with more to offer. You can feel his frustration, right? That sting of wanting to be enough but feeling like you're always one step behind? Caleb's been dropping by the bookstore more often, asking pointed questions about the notes, and Ellie's starting to wonder if he knows more than he's letting on. Did he see something? Is he hiding his own feelings, or is there a chance he's connected to the admirer in a way she hasn't considered? I'm planting these seeds because I want you to question everyone, to feel that delicious uncertainty that makes a mystery so addictive. Caleb's perspective adds a new angle, and his growing tension with Ellie is going to spark some drama that you won't want to miss. As we build the suspense, let's add another layer of mystery that's going to make your mind race. Ellie's been so focused on the notes that she hasn't noticed something else. Someone's been ordering rare books through the shop's website, expensive first editions that she doesn't even have in stock. The orders are anonymous, paid through untraceable accounts, and they always come with strange requests, like asking for the books to be left on a specific shelf or wrapped in brown paper. At first, Ellie thought it was just a glitch or a prank, but the orders keep coming, and they're starting to align with the timing of the notes. Is this a coincidence, or is her admirer using the orders to test her, to see how closely she's paying attention? You're probably shouting at the screen, Ellie, check the IP address. But in a small town with limited tech savvy, she's out of her depth. Lila's offered to help, but her digging is pulling her closer to Hargrove's orbit, and there's a sense that she's poking a bear she might not be ready to face. This new thread ties the mystery to the bookstore itself, making the book nook not just a setting but a battleground where secrets are hidden in plain sight. You're invested now, aren't you? I can feel your curiosity buzzing, and I'm not going to let it fizzle out. The tension in Willow Creek is thickening, And Ellie's starting to feel it in her bones. She's always been the optimistic type, the one who believes in happy endings, but the notes, the strange orders, and the whispers about Hargrove are chipping away at her confidence. One night as she's locking up, she finds a new note, not in a book this time, but taped to the shop's front door, where anyone could have seen it. It's shorter than the others, almost urgent. You're closer to the truth than you know. Be careful. Be careful? Of what? Of who? Her first thought is Hargrove, but then she remembers Tommy's story about the man in the coat, and Caleb's odd behavior, and Lila's warnings about the town's buried secrets. For the first time, Ellie's not sure who to trust, and you can feel her world tilting, like a book about to fall off a shelf. You're right there with her, aren't you? That mix of excitement and dread, wondering if she's about to uncover a love story or something far more dangerous. I'm leaving you on this edge, my friend, because the next part of this tale is going to twist everything you think you know. Don't click away, because the truth is lurking just around the corner, and it's going to hit like a thunderbolt. Here we are, picking up right where that chilling note on the book nook's door left Ellie, and you reeling, with the words, "Be careful," echoing like a warning bell in the quiet of Willow Creek's night. You're probably gripping your phone or leaning closer to your screen, heart racing as you wonder who's behind this cryptic message and what danger Ellie's stumbling into. I'm not going to let you down, my friend, because this part of the story is where the stakes skyrocket, the suspense tightens its grip, and an unexpected twist flips everything you thought you knew. Picture Ellie, standing frozen on the sidewalk, the note trembling in her hand as the streetlights flicker, casting eerie shadows across the quaint storefronts. She's always been the optimist, the one who sees the good in people, but now she's questioning everything. Her secret admirer, her friends, even the town she's called home her whole life. You're right there with her, feeling that knot of anticipation in your chest, and I'm promising you that this video is about to take you on a wild ride. We're diving deeper into the mystery, pushing the subplots to new heights, and dropping a bombshell that'll leave you gasping, all while keeping the main conflict tantalizingly unresolved. So, settle in, because Willow Creek secrets are about to spill, and you're not going to want to miss a single second of this drama. Let's start by cranking up the main conflict, because Ellie's world is starting to feel like a house of cards, and that note on the door was the gust of wind threatening to topple it. She's been trying to convince herself that her secret admirer, possibly Jonathan Hargrove, the richest man in town, is just a romantic with a flair for the dramatic, but the urgency of this latest message, coupled with the strange incidents at the bookstore, is shaking her to her core. The next morning, she's rattled but determined, marching into the book nook with a mission to get answers. She starts by checking the shop's ancient security camera, a clunky old thing her dad installed years ago, hoping it caught something from the night before. The footage is grainy, but there's a fleeting glimpse of a figure near the door, tall, wearing a dark coat, just like Tommy described. Her breath catches, because this isn't just a prank anymore. Someone's deliberately toying with her, and they're bold enough to do it in plain sight. You're probably yelling, "Ellie, call someone!" But she's stubborn, and part of her still clings to the hope that these notes are a lifeline, not a threat. That's when she notices something else on the footage, a glint of metal in the figure's hand, like a key. A key? To her shop? The locked case? Her heart sinks as she realizes the admirer might have access to more than just her books. They might be closer than she ever imagined. You're feeling that chill, aren't you? That moment when the puzzle pieces start to fit, but the picture they're forming is darker than you expected? I'm keeping you on this edge, because the tension's only climbing from here. Now let's weave in that unexpected twist, because I promised you something that'll flip the script, and I'm delivering. As Ellie's reeling from the security footage, she gets a visit from someone she never expected. Margaret Hargrove, Jonathan's estranged sister, who hasn't been seen in Willow Creek for years. Margaret's in her early 50s, sharp-eyed and impeccably dressed, but there's a nervous energy about her, like she's carrying a secret too heavy to hold. She claims she's back in town to settle some family business, but her real reason for stopping by the book nook is to warn Ellie. "Stay away from my brother," she says, her voice low and urgent. "He's not who you think he is." You're probably thinking, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And you're not alone. Ellie's floored, because she's never even met Jonathan, let alone confirmed he's her admirer. Margaret drops a bombshell. Jonathan's been obsessed with the book nook for years, ever since their mother, a book lover, died in a mysterious accident tied to the shop's history. Margaret hints that Jonathan's notes might not be about love at all but about reclaiming something he believes the bookstore holds, a secret tied to their family's past. This twist shifts everything, making you question whether Jonathan's motives are romantic, vengeful, or something else entirely. Is he the admirer, Or is someone else using his name to stir up trouble? You're hooked now, I can tell, because this new layer of mystery is like a plot twist in your favorite thriller. And I'm not letting you off the hook just yet. Let's deepen the subplots, starting with Lila, because her amateur sleuthing is about to land her in hot water. Lila's been digging into Willow Creek's archives, chasing the story of the woman who worked for Hargrove and disappeared a decade ago. She's found something unsettling, a letter in the town's historical records, written by the woman, hinting that she'd uncovered something dangerous about Hargrove's business dealings, something tied to land grabs and shady investments. Lila's convinced this connects to Ellie's situation, especially since Hargrove's company has been eyeing the Book Nook's block for development. But her poking around hasn't gone unnoticed. One evening, as she's leaving the library, she notices a car idling across the street, its driver hidden behind tinted windows. Her true crime instincts kick in, and she snaps a photo of the license plate, but when she tries to trace it, the records are sealed, blocked by someone with serious pull. You're probably thinking, Lila, be careful. And you're right, because her subplot is adding a dangerous edge to the story, making you wonder if Ellie's not the only one in over her head. Lila's determination to protect her friend is admirable, but it's also pulling her closer to a truth that someone wants to keep buried, and you can feel the noose tightening around her with every step she takes. Tommy's subplot is also heating up, and it's tugging at your heartstrings while adding another thread to the mystery. The teenager's been spending more time at the bookstore, helping Ellie with small tasks, but his behavior's getting erratic. He's jumpy, always glancing over his shoulder, and Ellie catches him slipping a crumpled note into his pocket one day, written in handwriting that looks eerily familiar. When she confronts him, Tommy clams up, muttering something about not wanting to cause trouble. But later, when they're alone, he admits he's been getting anonymous texts, warning him to stay away from the bookstore. The texts aren't signed, but they mention Jay and hint at knowing things about Tommy's mom, things that could ruin her if they got out. You're probably gasping, because this is a gut punch. Is Tommy's subplot tied to Ellie's admirer, or is there another player in Willow Creek pulling strings? Tommy's vulnerability makes you root for him, but his secrecy adds a layer of suspicion, making you wonder if he's hiding something crucial. Ellie's torn between protecting him and demanding answers, and you can feel her frustration, that sinking feeling when you want to help someone but don't know the whole story. This subplot keeps the stakes personal, reminding you that the mystery isn't just about notes, it's about real people caught in a web they can't escape. Caleb's role is also escalating, and his perspective is adding fuel to the fire. He's been acting cagey, showing up at the bookstore at odd hours and pressing Ellie for details about the notes. When she mentions Margaret's visit, Caleb's reaction is strange. He gets quiet, almost angry, and mutters something about the Hargroves ruining everything. It turns out Caleb's family has history with the Hargroves. His dad lost a bitter land dispute to Jonathan's company years ago, and the resentment still festers. Caleb's starting to suspect that Jonathan's targeting Ellie to get to the bookstore's property, but there's a flicker of doubt in his eyes, like he's not telling her everything. Is he jealous of the admirer's attention, or does he know something about the shop's past that he's keeping from Ellie? You're probably picking up on the tension between them, that slow burn of unspoken feelings mixed with mistrust. Caleb's subplot is a powder keg, and every interaction with Ellie feels like a spark that could ignite it. You're invested in their dynamic, aren't you? That push and pull of friendship and something more, all tangled up in the bigger mystery? I'm weaving these threads to keep you guessing, because Caleb's not just a sidekick. He's a wild card, and his next move is going to shake things up. To push the story toward its climax, let's raise the stakes with a new incident that ties all these threads together. One night, as Ellie's closing the shop, she finds another note. Not handwritten this time, but typed and slipped under the door. It's stark, almost threatening. Stop asking questions, or the shop burns. Her blood runs cold, because this isn't a game anymore. It's a direct threat, and it's not just about her anymore. It's about the Book Nook, her father's legacy, and the people like Tommy who depend on it. She calls Lila and Caleb, and the three of them huddle in the shop, debating what to do. Lila's ready to go to the police, but Caleb argues that'll only make things worse, hinting that the town's sheriff might be in Hargrove's pocket. Tommy, who's been quietly listening, suddenly blurts out that he saw the same dark-coated figure near the shop again, this time carrying something that looked like a gas can. The room goes silent, and you can feel the fear gripping them, and you, because the idea of someone torching the Book Nook is unthinkable. You're probably thinking, no way they wouldn't. But the threat feels real, and it's pushing Ellie to a breaking point. Is this Jonathan, lashing out because she's getting too close to his secrets? Or is someone else using his name to scare her off? The mystery's tightening like a vice, and you're right in the thick of it, desperate for answers but loving the thrill of the chase. As the tension peaks, let's leave you with one final twist to keep you on the edge of your seat. The next morning, Ellie finds a package outside the shop, unmarked except for a single initial, J. Inside is a photograph, old and faded, showing a young woman standing in front of the book nook, smiling with a man who looks strikingly like a younger Jonathan Hargrove. On the back, in that familiar elegant handwriting, is a single line, "She knew too much." Ellie's hands shake as she stares at the photo, because the woman's face is one she's seen before, in a framed picture on her dad's desk, labeled Aunt Clara. Her aunt, who died in a car accident before Ellie was born, or so she was told. What does this mean? Was Clara connected to Jonathan? To the shop's secrets? And why is this coming up now? You're gasping, I know, because this revelation ties Ellie's family to the mystery in a way you never saw coming, and it's raising the stakes to a fever pitch. Don't you dare click away, my friend, because the climax is looming, and the truth about Ellie's secret admirer, and her past, is about to explode like a firework in the night sky. We're diving straight into the heart of Willow Creek, right where we left Ellie clutching that haunting photograph of her Aunt Clara with a young Jonathan Hargrove, her mind spinning as the words, "She knew too much," sear into her thoughts like a brand. You're probably on the edge of your seat, your heart pounding as you try to piece together how Ellie's family ties into this web of secrets, and I'm not going to keep you waiting much longer, my friend. This is it, the climax of our story, where the mystery of the secret admirer unravels, the threats against the book nook come to a head, and a final twist leaves you gasping. I've been guiding you through this journey, and now I'm promising a resolution that'll answer your burning questions, tie up the subplots, and leave you with a story you'll be thinking about long after this video ends. Picture Ellie standing in the dim light of her bookstore, the weight of that photo pulling her into a past she never knew, while the present danger, a threat to burn her shop to the ground, looms like a storm cloud. You're right there with her, feeling the stakes, the fear, and the desperate need for truth, and I'm going to make sure this conclusion hits all the right notes, blending romance, suspense, and a touch of heartbreak to keep you glued until the final word. Let's unravel this mystery together, because Willow Creek's secrets are about to burst wide open, and you're not going to believe where this ride takes us. Ellie's first move is to confront the past head-on, because that photo has flipped her world upside down, and she's done playing guessing games. She calls Lila, Caleb, and Tommy to the bookstore, her inner circle, because she knows she can't face this alone. The four of them huddle around the shop's counter, the photo laid out like a piece of evidence in a crime scene. Lila, ever the amateur detective, recognizes Clara from her research. She was the woman who worked for Hargrove and supposedly left town a decade ago, not Ellie's aunt who died in a car accident. The revelation hits Ellie like a punch. Her family lied to her, and Clara's connection to Hargrove and the book nook is the key to everything. Caleb's unusually quiet, his jaw tight, and when Ellie presses him, he admits he's known more than he let on. His dad, the former mayor, had warned him years ago to steer clear of the Hargroves, hinting at a scandal involving Clara and a land deal that went sour. Caleb's been holding back, not out of malice, but because he was afraid of dragging Ellie into something dangerous. You're probably feeling that mix of frustration and sympathy, right? That moment when someone you trust holds out on you, but you get why they did it? Ellie's hurt, but she pushes past it, because the threat to her shop is too real, and the note's warning, "Stop asking questions, or the shop burns," is ticking like a time bomb. Tommy, still shaken from his own anonymous texts, pipes up with a detail that makes everyone freeze. The man in the dark coat he saw wasn't alone. There was someone else, a woman, watching from across the street. You're gripping your screen now, because this new player is a curveball, and the climax is rushing toward us like a freight train. Determined to end this, Ellie decides to confront Jonathan Hargrove himself, because if he's the admirer, or the threat, she needs to look him in the eye. Lila insists on coming, armed with her research, while Caleb and Tommy stay behind to guard the shop, just in case the arson threat isn't a bluff. The drive to Hargrove's mansion on the hill feels like a journey into the unknown, the sprawling estate looming like something out of a Gothic novel. When they arrive, Jonathan greets them, not as the reclusive billionaire they expected, but as a weary man in his late 40s, his eyes carrying a sadness that catches Ellie off guard. He invites them in, and what follows is the climax you've been waiting for. A confrontation that peels back the layers of Willow Creek's secrets. Jonathan admits to writing the notes, but not for the reasons Ellie feared. He's not after her shop or her land. He's been in love with her from afar, ever since he saw her at a town festival years ago, reading to kids in the bookstore's tent. The notes were his way of connecting without disrupting her life, a coward's move he calls it, because he's been haunted by his family's past. Specifically, Clara's death. You're probably thinking, wait, love? Really? But hold on, because Jonathan's story is more than a confession. Clara, he reveals, was Ellie's aunt and his fiancée, until she uncovered a scheme by Hargrove's father to strong-arm local businesses, including the Book Nook, for profit. Clara threatened to expose it, and days later, she died in a car crash that Jonathan now believes was no accident. You're feeling that shock, aren't you? The realization that this isn't just a romance. It's a tragedy tied to greed and betrayal. The climax peaks as Jonathan hands Ellie a journal. Clara's, hidden in the mansion all these years. It details the land scheme and names a surprising accomplice. Caleb's father, who worked with Hargrove's dad to pressure Ellie's father into selling the Book Nook. Ellie's reeling, because this means her dad knew about the scandal and kept it from her, protecting her from a truth that could have destroyed their family. The notes, Jonathan explains, were his attempt to honor Clara's memory by helping Ellie save the shop, but the threats? Those weren't from him. That's when Lila's phone buzzes with a text from Tommy, frantic. The shop's alarm is going off, and he smells gasoline. Ellie and Lila race back, Jonathan following, and you're right there with them, heart in your throat as the story hurtles toward resolution. They arrive to find Caleb outside, wrestling with a figure in a dark coat. Margaret Hargrove, Jonathan's sister, who's been the one escalating the threats. The woman Tommy saw? That was her accomplice. A hired hand from out of town. Margaret's motive is the final piece of the puzzle. She's been trying to scare Ellie into selling the shop, not for profit, but to bury the truth about her role in Clara's death. She'd tampered with Clara's car all those years ago, driven by jealousy and fear that Clara's exposé would ruin the Hargrove name. You're gasping now, because this betrayal, from Jonathan's own sister, is the gut punch that ties every thread together. The police arrive, alerted by Tommy, and Margaret is taken away, her confession spilling out like poison. With the main conflict resolved, let's wrap up the subplots and bring this story home. Caleb, devastated by his father's involvement, apologizes to Ellie, and though their friendship is strained, there's a flicker of hope they can rebuild. He vows to help her keep the Book Nook afloat, starting with a community fundraiser that's already trending on social media. Hashtag Save the Book Nook is blowing up, and you can feel the love pouring in from Willow Creek's residents. Tommy's subplot finds closure as Ellie learns his anonymous texts were from Margaret's accomplice, trying to keep him quiet after he saw too much. She promises to be there for him, offering him a part-time job at the shop, and you're probably smiling at the way this kid's found a home in the Book Nook. Lila, our fearless sleuth, is shaken but proud, her research having helped crack the case. She's already planning a podcast about Willow Creek secrets, and you can bet it'll be a hit. As for Jonathan, he and Ellie share a quiet moment in the shop, where he hands her the last note he'll ever write. You saved yourself, Ellie. Clara would be proud. There's no grand romance here, but a mutual respect, a promise to honor the past by keeping the bookstore alive. You're feeling that bittersweet warmth, right? The kind that comes from a story that doesn't tie up too neatly but feels real, human, and true. Now, for that final unexpected twist, because I promised you something to leave you in awe. As Ellie's cleaning up the shop the next day, she finds one last item in the locked case. A small, hidden compartment she never noticed, triggered by a loose panel. Inside is a letter from her father, written before he died, confessing that he'd known about Clara's fight against the Hargroves and had kept her journal safe, hoping Ellie would one day finish what Clara started. Tucked with the letter is a deed, naming Ellie the owner of the entire block where the Book Nook sits, a gift from her dad to ensure the shop's future. You're probably tearing up, because this twist isn't just a plot point. It's a legacy, a reminder that Ellie's strength came from her family all along. She's not just saving the shop, she's reclaiming her history, and the weight of that hits like a thunderbolt. You're in awe, aren't you? That's the magic of this story, and I'm leaving you with a takeaway that'll stick. Sometimes, the secrets we uncover don't just solve mysteries, they show us who we've always been. Thank you for sticking with me, my friend, because this journey through Willow Creek was for you. And I know you'll carry Ellie's story in your heart long after you click away.